The air within the community of global financial observers has thickened with an intensity that many believe signals a pivotal moment in the unfolding narrative of the Iraqi dinar. For countless years, individuals across diverse backgrounds have maintained a steadfast, almost singular focus on the potential for a profound economic reawakening within Iraq, holding tightly to a conviction that a dramatic monetary transformation was not only possible, but perhaps inevitable. This belief has persisted in the face of widespread skepticism, enduring dismissive commentary and outright ridicule from those who doubted the nation's capacity for financial resurgence or the plausibility of a broad, orchestrated restructuring of the global economic framework. Yet, the community has remained vigilant. Through periods marked by significant geopolitical instability, volatile swings in the international oil markets, and often lengthy, frustrating silences from the financial authorities in Baghdad, this dedicated group of followers has maintained their readiness. Today, that unwavering persistence is being met with a rapidly escalating and extraordinarily detailed narrative, suggesting that the long period of waiting may be decisively transitioning into a phase of active, verifiable financial engagement. What was once confined to the realm of distant speculation or hushed conversations within online forums has begun to present itself with a level of structural clarity that compels serious and sustained attention from all who monitor the economic developments of the Middle East. The focus of the conversation has demonstrably shifted, moving away from vague speculation and toward a dialogue that is resonating with a notable sense of precision and operational structure. This specific juncture is now being widely referred to by analysts and informed community members as the activation of what they term RV Phase 2, which serves as a significant marker in the ongoing global financial discussions. The circulation of reports concerning a tightly controlled 36-hour exchange window designated for the so-called Tier 4B group has propelled the level of community anticipation to heights that are, by all accounts, unprecedented in this long-running saga. It is vital to understand that within this framework, the current reporting is viewed not as a mere recirculation of old rumors or a false alarm, but as a critical inflection point in the entire monetary story. For those who have diligently tracked the accumulation of economic indicators year after year, this moment represents a potential culmination, a period where internal Iraqi reforms finally appear to be synchronizing with the rigorous international standards for monetary compliance, transparency, and value realignment. To fully appreciate the asserted magnitude of this transition, however, one must look beyond the isolated actions of Baghdad and consider the overarching context of the global financial system. The world's monetary architecture has been undergoing one of the most dynamic and far-reaching eras of fundamental change in modern history, often unseen by the general public. Quietly and methodically, powerful central banks, international regulatory bodies, and the developers of major digital payment networks have been retooling the very underpinnings of established monetary policy. This colossal global undertaking is designed to adapt the world economy to a rapidly evolving landscape, which is now dominated by the requirements of instantaneous cross-border trade, next-generation settlement systems, and a significant, ongoing geopolitical realignment among major powers. Across Asia, the Middle East, Europe, and the Americas, virtually every major nation has been implementing its own version of modernization and structural reforms within its financial systems. While many of these complex changes are executed in the back offices and technical departments of banking institutions, remaining largely invisible to the average citizen, they are profoundly meaningful to the sophisticated architecture that governs how value is securely moved, verified, and stored around the globe. These extensive reforms are not cosmetic. They involve the widespread adoption of real-time gross settlement networks and the expansion of secure, asset-backed digital platforms. Crucially, these global efforts include the implementation of dramatically increased transparency requirements across all major financial transactions. These new global rules are explicitly designed to prevent systemic market manipulation, enhance systemic trust among international partners, and ensure a cleaner flow of capital. Iraq, despite the undeniable political and economic turbulence of its recent past, has been steadily and publicly aligning its banking sector with this massive international movement, working diligently to restore its global credibility and strengthen its national monetary sovereignty. The reported initiation of what many community members refer to as global revaluation activity constitutes a significant and observable milestone within this much broader wave of international reform. Part of what lends such weight to this particular moment is not just the isolated financial actions attributed to a single nation like Iraq, but the reported synchronization that is occurring among multiple, often disparate, financial systems. These systems are allegedly moving in concert toward the shared objectives of improved stability, greater interoperability, and enhanced global liquidity mechanisms. While the precise interpretation of these events varies considerably across different speculative communities, financial analysts generally agree that the current phase of heightened activity reflects a deep, sustained global push toward improved data-driven liquidity management. There is a concerted effort among international bodies and central banks to achieve a closer alignment of currency values with a nation's real, verifiable economic potential, particularly in key emerging markets that have been historically perceived as undervalued or structurally impaired. The concept of tiers within global financial transition discussions can often be a source of confusion for individuals new to this complex topic. However, this tiered structure is firmly rooted in the standard operating practices used during any large-scale monetary or regulatory rollout in international finance. These staged implementation models are essential tools that allow central banks and their partner institutions to introduce profound reforms gradually and deliberately, thereby ensuring systemic stability is maintained and mitigating the shock that a sudden, simultaneous release of major policy changes would inevitably cause. Understanding the hierarchy of these deployment tiers is fundamental to comprehending the current circulating narrative. Higher tiers, such as Tier 1 and Tier 2, typically involve sovereign entities, major central banking institutions, and leading governmental players who move first to secure the foundational liquidity required for the subsequent stages. Later stages then incorporate major commercial banks, large-scale corporate participants, and eventually, private individuals operating under structured, tightly controlled frameworks and protocols. In the specialized circles discussing currency revaluation, Tier 4B is the commonly referenced designation for the specific phase involving pre-registered private holders, those who have prepared their necessary documentation and are believed to be compliant with the formal exchange protocol established by participating institutions. While the precise execution details are subject to jurisdictional and institutional variation, the core concept is that this phase involves individuals who have maintained an active readiness to engage with the banking system once the official notification or activation occurs. The reported significance of this 36-hour window is not merely the speculative excitement that often surrounds such discussions, but rather the fact that it represents a carefully timed and critical component of larger, global monetary engineering. The coordination implied by such a narrow time frame ensures that liquidity is intended to enter the global system in a measured, systematic, and controlled fashion. This prevents an abrupt or chaotic entry that could destabilize broader financial markets or overwhelm the receiving institutions. This tiered, sequenced approach mirrors strategies employed by central banks historically during periods of major currency redenomination, significant interest rate adjustments, or complex migrations to new digital payment platforms. Understanding this methodical structure helps to clarify why certain purported events unfold in a specific sequence, rather than as an immediate, all-at-once change. It reflects the guiding principle of systemic integrity and security that governs modern global financial operations. During any period of major financial system recalibration, it is a well-established practice for central banks, digital clearinghouses, and regulatory authorities to operate within highly structured, restricted activation windows. These narrow windows serve a crucial purpose, allowing technical teams to synchronize vast databases, verify internal ledger balances, coordinate precise rate adjustments, and ensure that all participating international institutions are fully aligned before broader, public-facing operations can resume. The currently discussed 36-hour transition window, which is associated with the progression of global currency activity, exemplifies this meticulous approach to highly sensitive liquidity management and technical synchronization. Such windows are inherently designed not as consumer-facing public announcements, but as quietly executed, technical intervals during which high-level financial infrastructure undergoes crucial internal validation and testing to verify integrity. By operating under such strict and demanding time constraints, regulators and banking engineers ensure that any final adjustments to international settlement protocols, rate synchronization mechanisms, or critical cross-border systems are implemented in a clean, traceable, and error-free manner. This practice is absolutely vital in an era where digital settlement systems operate at near-instantaneous speeds and require precise, global calibration to avoid systemic imbalances between nations or major trading blocs. For professional observers and analysts diligently following these developments, the reported existence of such a restricted window strongly signals a heightened level of coordination and rapid-fire communication among the world's major financial hubs. It should be appropriately interpreted not as a retail event, but as a reflection of the increased sophistication, security requirements, and operational rigor of a modern financial architecture that consistently prioritizes systemic safety over simple speed. In essence, this specific window acts as a technical marker of ongoing infrastructure alignment. Central banks across the globe have unmistakably entered an accelerated phase of aggressive modernization, primarily driven by the escalating demand for instantaneous, high-volume financial transactions, the implementation of more robust compliance mechanisms, and the urgent need for digital infrastructure capable of interfacing with cutting-edge economic technologies. In regions spanning the Middle East, Asia, Europe, and North America, these essential upgrades frequently include the development of new cross-border settlement networks and the integration of blockchain-inspired architectures to ensure immutable record-keeping. Iraq's own highly visible modernization efforts are a direct reflection of this worldwide shift and must be viewed as an integral component of this vast global machine. Over the past several years, the Central Bank of Iraq (CBI) has introduced a comprehensive series of reforms explicitly designed to strengthen internal financial governance, dramatically improve liquidity monitoring, and align the country's entire financial system with stringent international standards and best practices. These Iraqi initiatives include substantial upgrades to their electronic payment systems, the mandatory integration of strict anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing protocols, and a major push to enhance transparency across both the public and private banking sectors. While such fundamental efforts may appear purely technical to the casual observer, they collectively represent an enormous leap forward for Iraq's overall economic posture and its long-term credibility within the demanding and rigorous global marketplace. Economists widely note that this ongoing, methodical modernization process mirrors a much larger transformation occurring in both developing and resource-rich nations worldwide, all of which are seeking to leverage next-generation digital infrastructure to support long-term economic stability and attract substantial foreign direct investment. The strong movement toward asset-backed accounting models and secure digital settlement systems is part of a broader, collective effort to ensure that the next era of global finance is built upon verifiable, resilient, and efficiently managed value representation. What we are witnessing today is not an isolated, purely Iraqi story, but instead one distinct and crucial chapter in a massive global shift toward a more interconnected and technologically fortified financial landscape. In this emerging reality, every national currency will ultimately be required to prove its underlying worth through demonstrable transparency and sustained economic output, a stark contrast to the opaque systems of the past. One of the most compelling aspects of the current global moment is the undeniable level of multinational coordination unfolding across financial institutions, key regulatory bodies, and interconnected digital asset networks. The past decade has revealed a quiet, steady push toward harmonizing international compliance standards, validating complex national reserve structures, and building new systems capable of interfacing seamlessly across virtually all international borders and time zones, dramatically reducing friction and risk. The move toward measurable value representation, particularly through asset-backed frameworks, directly reflects a growing international demand for genuine stability, unambiguous accountability, and complete cross-system compatibility in a world that has grown deeply weary of financial volatility and systemic crises. Such fundamental changes do not materialize overnight, nor do they often conform to the simple, exaggerated narratives frequently circulated among speculative groups. Instead, these profound shifts emerge through deliberate international cooperation, multi-year planning cycles, and the disciplined, phased rollout of new settlement technologies that must be stress-tested for global scale. As nations continue to integrate these new systems, the global monetary order is gradually but fundamentally transforming into one that places primary emphasis on transparency, interoperability, and long-term systemic resilience, moving beyond the simple fiat-based valuation models of the past. For many years, investors who carefully study large-scale financial transformations have understood a critical truth. Meaningful global change almost never arrives with the sudden fanfare or abruptness imagined in rumor-driven narratives. Instead, it unfolds through a quiet, tedious series of technical steps, intensive system testing, regulatory calibration, and the gradual harmonization of policy across sovereign entities. The activation of a new phase within a broader monetary transition represents the precise culmination of years of groundwork conducted meticulously behind the scenes. Investors who genuinely pay attention to sophisticated macroeconomic trends recognize that these transitions are not spontaneous. They are intentionally designed, rigorously tested, meticulously refined, and implemented with exacting precision, specifically to ensure that the global markets remain fundamentally stable throughout the process. Yet, even within this highly structured environment, experienced analysts strongly caution against becoming consumed by speculative expectations, particularly those that promise instant, unrealistic wealth or overnight global transformation. Financial strategists consistently emphasize that transparency, discipline, and strict regulatory compliance are the essential principles that enable participants to navigate these complex periods of economic transition responsibly. Those who approach this entire process with a mindset grounded in observation and disciplined study, rather than in urgency or emotional reaction, are ultimately in the strongest position to rationally interpret what comes next. Knowledge, not mere speculation, remains the most reliable and powerful tool for interpreting major monetary developments. Whenever scenarios portray major financial shifts, one common and pervasive side effect is the rapid, widespread proliferation of often unsubstantiated information. Social media platforms and rumor networks can effortlessly amplify speculative claims that diverge dramatically from institutional facts. This is precisely why viewers and readers are consistently encouraged to adopt a grounded and measured approach to all information, consulting only licensed financial professionals and verifying all core data directly from official, authoritative banking sources. This global scenario should never be interpreted as an instruction to make high-risk personal financial decisions based on unverified information. Instead, it serves as a powerful reminder about the necessity of critical thinking during times of rapid change. Grounded thinking transforms the inherent uncertainty of such a narrative into valuable insight, allowing you to appreciate the unfolding story without being swept away by unrealistic, unsourced expectations or emotional urgency. In this evolving structure, the importance of distinguishing verified institutional communication from unverified chatter becomes even more pronounced. Any legitimate, transformative reform must adhere to established processes rooted in law, governmental governance, and formal, documented oversight. National central banks and finance ministries remain the sole authoritative sources for any official updates regarding currency changes, exchange protocols, or rate adjustments. The narrative strongly emphasizes that genuine transformation, whether technological, financial, or societal, unfolds gradually and with intentional deliberation. The individuals who will be best equipped to navigate this moment are those who fully understand that institutional progress is rarely linear. They recognize that reforms require careful drafting, extensive real-world testing, and layered official approval before they can be implemented successfully and responsibly on a global scale. Patience in this context becomes more than a simple virtue. It is a vital, strategic mindset that allows individuals to focus on disciplined preparation and comprehensive understanding rather than fleeting, emotional prediction. By embracing this broader, long-term perspective, we discover that the most enduring value of this financial transition lies not in a speculative outcome, but in the wisdom and systemic understanding gained throughout the demanding journey of following and interpreting the mechanics of global finance.